Hello, Brobs. We're back with Shakespeare's Sweetheart by Sara Hawkes Sterling. Chapter 7. Breaking the locks of prison gates. The Stratford streets were deserted next day as I passed hurriedly along them on my way to the gal. I don't know how to say that word. The play was progressing in the inn yard, and all the town apparently had gone thither. Here and there, an old grandsire nodded in the sun, and occasionally I saw a young mother standing in a doorway, her baby in her arms. Otherwise, all the town, young and old, rich and poor, had gone to the play. We had counted on this condition of affairs, the players and I, when we had made our plans the day before. It cheered me now to see how aptly circumstances were falling in with our schemes. In less than a half hour, should all go well, Will would be free. The glad thought put a spring into my step, and I gave a low, happy laugh. At the same moment, I looked up and found that I was passing Will's home, and that Mistress Shakespeare was standing by the window. When I had seen her late, she had carried herself in stately wise, and had looked at me with scorn and abhorrence. Now she did not see me, and her whole figure was drooping as she leaned against the open window. One arm was curved listlessly above her head, the other rested carelessly on the sill. Her beautiful hazel eyes, so like Will's, were wide and sad. Her exquisite, disdainful face looked pale and drawn. My heart smote me at sight of her, so lovely and so sorrowful. Alas, what was I, to come between such a mother and such a son? Will was like her in stately figure and clear-cut features, and I could imagine how dearly they had loved each other. As I saw her drooping form, her sorrowful face, I paused involuntarily, and she glanced up and saw me. Instantly her expression hardened, and she drew herself erect. All my impulse of pity vanished. I looked at her proudly also. For one instant, without speaking, we faced each other thus, Shakespeare's mother and Shakespeare's sweetheart. It was the indication of our lifelong attitude. Then she vanished from the window, and I went on down the street with even, leisurely steps, my head still high in the air. A few moments later, I reached the gal. I'm going to have to look that word up. Pardon. Apparently, it's just pronounced jail. It took hard knocking to arouse the custodian, and when he at length admitted me, he looked as if he had been sleeping. He was grumbling to himself about his hard fate. Other men, he muttered, could go to the play, but he must remain to watch these lazy varlets who were in his charge. Well, here is consolation, I said, after sympathizing with his complaint. Dame Quickly of the inn was once servant to the Shakespeares in their better days, and she sends a pasty to Master Will. She bade me also give this one to thee, if thou wouldst let me take his to him. This speech was a skilful mixture of fiction and fact. Dame Quickly had indeed been servant to the Shakespeares, but she knew nothing of the present plan. He leered at me sleepily. And why art thou messenger, pretty Nan? He said, in what was intended for a fascinating manner. I lowered my lashes, as if it were indeed irresistible, and answered demurely, I am maid at the inn for the nonce, and Mistress Quickly was kind enough to say that she trusted me. Curse me then, he cried, growing even more sentimental. But thou shalt do as she desires, and I will trust thee, too, on one condition. I will allow thee to take the pasty up to Will, if first thou wilt let me give thee a kiss. And he leered at me again. I hesitated, my face aflame. Then I laughed deprecatingly. Why shouldst thou care to buss me, master? I said. Thou knowest me well, and hast seen me oft. Why this sudden wish to touch my lips? Thou hast never seemed so fair before, he answered, gazing at me amorously. And besides, thou art the only maid within reach. I'll have a kiss, I say, or thou shalt not take the pasty to Will Shakespeare. His tone was growing threatening, and what mattered it, after all? A kiss was but an ordinary interchange of civilities. Only I cared not to have this red-faced knave bring his face so near to mine. However, that I should reach Will speedily was of the greatest importance, and so, without more ado, I lifted my mouth to the jailer's and gave him his desire. Good, he cried, smacking his lips, and having bestowed on me several resounding kisses. Now the pasty thou didst promise me, Gramercy. Ah, and he began to bite into it. Mistress Quickly's hand hath not lost its old cunning. Here are the keys, wench. I cannot leave this dainty dish. This was more than I had hoped for. I seized the keys and fled up the stairs precipitately, leaving him busy with the pasty. I did not know in which room Will was confined, but I trusted to heaven to find out. Meanwhile, the jailer was devouring, in huge bites, the pasty which had been drugged with a powerful liquid provided by Master Burbage. The effect of the same would be to put him in a stupor, but it would not harm him further. So Master Burbage assured me, or I would not have used it, even to free Will from his imprisonment. I ran along the corridor, calling Will's name as loudly as I dared. Presently I heard his voice reply in a tone of great surprise. Fortunately, the keys were not many, and I speedily found the one that fitted. Then, half laughing, half in tears, I stumbled into his room to be met with a cry of utter astonishment as he caught me in his arms. Nan, he cried, Nan, whence did thou come? What miracle is this? Oh, hush, I panted, laying my finger on his lips. Here's the pasty. Thou must take it with thee. To avert suspicion from me, I told the players they are coming to free thee. Oh, Will, I had to kiss the jailer to get thee to thee. There, quick, Burbage will explain all to thee afterwards. The door is open, come. But to what end? He began, obeying me. However, as I urged him towards the door, Sir Thomas Lucy, thou wilt soon be far away from him, I answered impatiently. Come, come. He said no more, although he was evidently mystified, but obeyed as I drew him with me. We ran lightly down the stairs together. The jailer lay in a stupor, the half-eaten dainty beside him. I dropped the keys at his feet. We passed swiftly into the air, and there Master Burbage and Master Kemp were waiting for us, according to their agreement. Welcome, Will, cried the latter in a voice that was no less joyous because it was in a low key from caution. Thank this brave lass that thou art free, art ready to go to London with us. We start within the hour, before thy jailer shall awaken. I am in darkness still, although I have left my prison, answered Will, giving a hand to each of the players as we began to walk rapidly away from the jail. But I think light is dawning. Aye, Burbage, I will to London with thee. I will to London with thee, although he hesitated, then glanced at me. Fear not, Will, I interposed. None knows of my share in thy escape, save the jailer, and methinks shame at being outwitted by a wench will keep him silent. Besides, when it is found that thou art gone with the players, they will be suspected of having set thee free. Fear not for me. To London, and Godspeed. He stood still a moment in deep thought. Kemp looked around uneasily, but none saw us. Not a soul was in sight. Stay, he said suddenly. I would first, Kemp. Burbage, are your parts in the play over? Ay, Burbage answered. The rest are acting the last scene now. We came to do our part in setting thee free, but find thee no longer a prisoner. What wouldst to say, Will? Speak quickly, for time presses. How long before thou dost start for London? Said Will, who seemed curiously forgetful of his perilous position as escaped prisoner, although he walked on again in obedience to Burbage's gesture. We have planned to do so within the hour, and so we must, if thou art to go with us, so that thy escape may not be discovered too soon. Then, cried Will, the light of a sudden resolve brightening his face, I will ask one boon further, comrades. I will not join you now, but I will meet you tomorrow morn at Luddington. Go back to the players, and watch for me when you reach that town. I will join you there without fail. But why? Began Burbage expostulatingly. 'Tis foolish, needless. Why not come with us now? I have a cloak and a wig ready, which will make thee escape recognition in Stratford. Say what thou wilt, answered Will, obstinately. I will join thee at Luddington, or nowhere. Ah, comrades, and his voice once more took on its usual winning quality. Believe me, I am not ungrateful. I have some business to which I must first attend, else I cannot to London with a free mind. Do as I desire, and I will meet you at Luddington. With ill grace, they consented at last and took their departure. Will seized my hand and drew me in the opposite direction. We had now nearly reached the outskirts of Stratford. Quick, Nan, he said. Go seek Sandell's and Richardson. They dwell about a quarter of a mile further. Most like they are not at the play, since they are sober-minded men. They are faithful friends of mine, and I think will do what I ask. Bid them come with me at once, and we will all to Luddington together. But why, I began in utter perplexity, why wilt thou risk thy freedom? Then, indeed, his face relaxed. He laughed and kissed me. Dost not thou know either, he said, still laughing. We were now walking rapidly out of Stratford in the opposite direction to the inn yard and towards the homes of Sandell's and Richardson, because I would make thee safely my wife before I go to London, sweetheart. Now the banns will not need to be declared. If my good friends will do as I desire, I will ask them to become sureties on a bond, freeing the bishop from liability in case of lawful impediment, which thou knowest does not exist. I feared lest player's bond would not suffice. Else would I have asked Kemp and Burbage to do me this service. That is why I go to Luddington, sweetheart. There, yonder, lies Sandell's house, and not far from it is Richardson's? Haste thee, and ask them if they will do me this favor. I will go on, since I dare not linger. As in a dream I obeyed him, and as in a dream I lived during the next few hours. Master Sandell's and Master Richardson consented to Will's request, and we all made our way as quickly as possible to Luddington. There at last were spoken the words that made me Will's wife. In haste and secrecy our marriage took place, yet it brought us none the less joy. The players reached Luddington that same evening, but did not depart until the following morning. Master Sandell's and Master Richardson remained also, that they might take me back to Shottery. In the dim, chill dawn of the next day I bade Will farewell, and watched him ride away to London. All the light of my life went with him. Then, in Master Richardson and Master Sandell's kindly care, I went back to Shottery, Will's wedded wife at last, the bride of a knight. That's with an N, not a KN. All right, bruv, that's all for Chapter 7. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye. Good. Bye.